and welcome back to my channel. You are about to watch my wildly popular workshop, Sell Like a Matriarch. It has been viewed by over 800 students and found to be quite the catalyst in helping women to reclaim their livelihoods or the idea of having a fulfilling business that serves their communities from the evil hands of imperialist capitalism. So I hope that it serves you really well. I'm probably only going to leave it up for 2 weeks because I want to incentivize you to actually watch this rather than simply to save it. I want to encourage you to go, you know what, that could be just what I need to get myself going and make my dreams come true. So you've got 2 weeks to watch this. I would love, love, love to hear your comments. I'm doing loads of events and brilliant stuff online for you to connect in with. I've got a free one coming up in 5 days, which is kind of like a somatic spell to help you take the sting out of generational money trauma. It's completely free. I would love you to join us. And of course, my signature program, Rewild Your Livelihood, is currently enrolling. So if you want to make sure you get those details, make sure you get my newsletter. You can find all the details down below. In the meantime, I hope that you love this workshop and let me know how you go with it. Welcome. Welcome, everybody. Let us start by lighting a candle. Because what we're doing here is sacred work. And many of us have been raised to believe that selling and this part of our lives is not sacred. And by just right at the start of this call, saying we know that this is a sacred part of the whole, that when we are selling, when we're putting this part of our business out, we are doing the work of the divine. That us showing up here in all of our messiness, with all of our weirdness, all of our multiple desires, we are embodying the divine. And I want to pray that the next hour and a half, that all the right stuff emerges. Take a moment to pause with me. You might want to close your eyes, put your hands somewhere that feels meaningful to you just for a moment. As we entrust this next hour and a half to that which is bigger than ourselves. We trust that the right information is going to land deep in our hearts. We trust that information that is not for us is going to sift away and become compost. We rededicate ourselves to earth and to life and to joy. And we ask that we might emulate some of that in this call. And now, women, I would like for you to take another moment here in this moment of stillness and ask yourself why you are here. What part of you answered the call to this workshop? What is it you want to receive? And I place alongside you all of those goals and desires into the great basket and ask that they will be met and that you will receive exactly what you need from this call. Oh, when you're ready, open your eyes and come on through. And let's stare at each other again. Oh my God, you're all so amazing. Look at you. Ah, may our desires be blessed. All of the desires, may they be blessed. So that candle's going to be burning, hopefully, the whole time. My friend made it. Might be a bit dodgy. When it wasn't really lighting there, I was like, what has he done? But it's going really well now. You'll be pleased to hear. So for those of you who don't know me, I am Lucy. I'm going to do a tiny introduction because there's a lot I could say, obviously. I'm going to skip through a few things here. So, a large chunk of my adult life has been spent working for NGOs in activism and campaigns. Then I had children, moved to yurts, lived off grid for 10 years, raising my babies. And I was really rewilding myself from city life, London life. I was really like shedding off conditioning and shackles and would spend copious amounts of time like a hermit, just in nature, trying to learn from her and really finding my place in the community of living things. Towards around the middle of that time, I was really had a strong sense that I had stuff to bring into the world, and I couldn't do it through organizations and working with other people. It had to be something that I was bringing forth, probably related to my neurospicy brain. I've always struggled to do other people's jobs. So I had a really strong sense that it was mine to bring forth. And for a long time, was really laboring under quite a lot of burdens that I had inherited from this life of campaigning and activism, until I really yielded to doing it in the ways of nature, and basing it on my witchy essence and this rewilding that I had been going through. And it was at that point that everything kind of synced into place and started taking off and thriving. So my work now is really trying to pass on some of this stuff to women who also have important things to bring into the world right now in this complex time of intersecting crises. You have important work to do, and it's going to be really hard to do that work if we don't turn our hand to some of the tools such as selling. Before I crack on, I would like to let me just make sure everybody is muted. One moment. Okay, looks like we're doing quite well actually on the mute situation. So before I totally crack on, a quick nod to the lineage that I come from with this, because obviously I have not made all of this stuff up. I haven't pulled it out of nowhere. It's come from quite a varied crowd of matriarchs. So I would like to honor some of them. Starhawk was the original witch who helped me understand ritual and understand how important that was. And my internal witch came forth as a result of Starhawk. People like Joanna Macy, who I learnt deep ecology from and regenerative practices from, people like Siane and Alexandra Pope, who wrote Wild Power, which was one of my first introductions to living rhythmically, Monica Sue, who has written The Great Cosmic Mother, the large majority of my work is based on her stuff now, but also all the indigenous cultures from around the world who have even through great oppression and injustice, have carried the flame of living in communion with nature, embedded in her principles and her ways. I believe if it wasn't for Indigenous cultures carrying this through, none of us would be here today doing this. So today, it's kind of jam-packed. There's quite a lot of stuff in here. Some of you are going to leave with one perfect thing It's all going to make sense. You're going to be like, yeah, I've actually been doing this work for a while and I've now got one little thing. And that's great. Some of you, this is all going to be brand new. And there might be an element of overwhelm. And I just want to say that that is okay too. And I invite you to see this more as perhaps a vision of where you can go with your business in a whole new way. And it just sits there kind of on your shelf, and you just know that you are progressing towards it. I wouldn't want anybody to leave this feeling like there's so too much, so overwhelming. I'm just going to go. Just allow yourself to take it in. Whatever stage you are at is perfect, and your pace is perfect. So give yourself just so much grace as we go through this stuff. So let's move on to selling, hardcore selling. I honestly never thought I would be running a workshop on selling. Until recent years, it seemed like the very least sacred thing I could possibly teach on. But now I see that for so many women who have this sense of bringing something into the world, selling is the bridge to that vision we have in our hearts of what is possible for us. So we've got this sense, right? I'm sure you do, like this sense, like I could serve and thrive. You've got this sense in there. And actually, the bridge to that is learning how to sell. So why wouldn't it be extremely interesting, completely delicious, and a sacred thing to master? So that's the energy of the day. This understanding that once you make your peace with selling, and once you find your confidence in it, once you begin being able to actively sell consistently, that is when your business is going to grow into an abundant and profitable livelihood. However, today is not a lot of techniques and tactics. I have whole courses where I bring together the energy work and techniques and tactics in my course, Rewild Your Livelihood, which is enrolling really soon. It's going to be live from November to February. We have whole modules on marketing, masterclasses on marketing and techniques. But today is about the foundations, getting the foundations right for your selling. And because without those, all of those marketing techniques just kind of like wobble off the top, like a cherry that is not even stuck properly on the icing. Okay. So today is about the foundation. Give me a little wave if any of these resonate for you. These are the tells that reveal that there is patriarchal conditioning around your selling and it's leaking into your business. So have you ever launched a course or a workshop or your product and it feels completely excruciating? You keep refreshing the sign-up page multiple times a day and you feel constant tension in your belly about the numbers. Give me a wave if you feel that. Yeah, and it's like you think about a launch and it's not a happy feeling. It's like oh God, you know you're going to be in that excruciating space. Perhaps you have finished a launch of a product or your offering and you feel burnt out and maybe even a little bitter. Has anybody had that? Give me a little wave. Yeah. So you're like almost not even ready to teach it because you're so burnt out. Have you ever found yourself, this is like a little bit of a vulnerable one, but have you ever found yourself in controlling or manipulative conversations with potential clients that leave a bad taste in your mouth? I won't get you to wave, although I'll wave. There have been one or two times where I felt like I have come up too close to like really wanting this one person to do my thing. And I feel like I've come up too close to manipulation. So give a little inside wave if you have. What about every time when you tell people about your offering or your work, you actually feel like an imposter? You're like, they're gonna find me out. Has anybody had that one? Give a little wave. Okay, what about, are you quite constantly wavering on your prices? You're like, one day you're like, oh, it's $100. The next day you're like 40. Next you're like $2. You can have it for $2. Who wavers? A few people. Yeah. Okay. And then this one, you just have a really strong sensation that you are holding back on Instagram, your truth, your essence. You just know that you're holding it back from really revealing it. Who has that one? Yeah, okay. Well, I tell you what, you're in the right place. Because those are all little signs that there is some kind of old ways of patriarchal systems coming in and bleeding in. And that is what we're going to try and agitate today and get to the bottom of. So, if you have struggled with this stuff and you've struggled with selling and you've struggled with your prices, it's really not a bad thing. I actually think it might be a very beautiful part of you because many of us have been raised in the manipulative waters of modern marketing, where multi-million dollar corporations have used well-established psychological techniques to prey on our insecurities to get us to buy. Many of us have been manipulated into buying things. Many of us have been scammed. Many of us have felt that horrible feeling of not enoughness after watching ads. Many of us just know that there's something really deeply dehumanizing about modern selling. So if you haven't done well with selling, if you have felt gross and squeamish and not able to show up to it, I believe that that is the part of you that rejects all of those ways and all of that horrible treatment of each other. So today I would like to just acknowledge and see that part of you, because some of you might be bringing a little bit of shame, a little bit of like, oh, why can't I be better? Why can't I just sell properly? Why have I been in business for 7 years and not able to consistently sell? And you might be bringing that shame and a little bit of discouragement, and annoyance, frustration with yourself. And today, I want us to just see that part of us and be like, that actually is a really beautiful part of me. That is a part of me that refuses to treat other people like garbage. So I would like for you to place your hand on your heart. And if you feel this, just let your eyes close down and just be for a moment with that part of you that has struggled with selling. And let's take a minute in our own minds, our own hearts, to just speak some words to that part that has struggled with selling. It might sound something like, I honor you that you don't want to replicate the manipulative ways of an old oppressive system. Thank you for highlighting to me who I don't want to be and how important my values are. I cherish you. Thank you. And you can say to that part now, you don't have to worry anymore. My inner wise person is finding out a whole new way of doing this selling thing. Thank you for being here. And you can stand down in your hyper-vigilance. We're gonna figure out a new way together. When you're ready, come back in, let your eyes flicker open. Let's stretch. We're going to do a 30-second tour through 5,000 years of patriarchal rule. Are you ready? Okay, so for 5,000 years, much of the world has lived under patriarchal rule, a system that stacks one gender against the other. Males above women. Women have been property. Women have been slaves. Women have not been humans with rights and dignity. It's actually only one of the systems that does this hierarchical stacking of one group over another. Right now, we have tons of hierarchical systems that stack one group over another completely arbitrarily and at will. So we have white supremacy also does that. We have ableism. We have a ton of these quite oppressive hierarchical systems. They all began with patriarchal rule around 5,000 years ago. Now, we have tons of evidence that prior to this time, many countries had matriarchal societies. And in these societies, the mother was at the heart as the life bringer and the nurturer. Life revolved around goddess worship. Women were priests, merchants, mothers, leaders, artists, and healers. They were not cut off from any particular industry. They could really do anything they wanted. Yet 5,000 years of shaping affects us and it conditions us. So along the way, we and our matriarchal lines have learnt that women can't be multiple things, mothers and merchants, successful in business and with thriving families. Statistics tell us that we have learnt not to ask for pay rises in jobs, not to go for jobs that we don't feel overly qualified. So women now are often left in burnout territory with imposter syndrome, with very small financial goals, very small financial agency, and absolutely no idea how to stand in our matriarchal power. Now, today is somewhat of a collaboration. Thanks to books like The Great Cosmic Mother, I do have some insight into what matriarchal culture looked like. We know that it was 100% of the time embedded in nature. There was it chimed, it rhymed to the rhythms of nature. We know that mothers and children were right in the center of it. We know that they tended towards egalitarianism and non-dualism. So when I bring all of that together, I feel like we have some good insight into what selling might look like in matriarchal society. But this is also a work of our imagination because there is only so much that archaeological digs can tell us. So I'm going to go through now some examples of patriarchal selling and what I see as the matriarchal way. But as I'm doing this, I believe I'm sitting in a room with hundreds of wise women who also have access to cellular knowledge about what life used to be like and access to this great other field beyond us. So as I'm going through this, I want to invite you to kind of relax, take a bit of a chill time and see what comes through for you and see if anything, one, really resonates with you and you're like, yeah, that is something I want to take home from this. But two, if anything comes up that I haven't covered, because I want to bring that into the room too, because we are hundreds of wise women here and not just one. Okay, so let me pull up my slides. These are last minute slides. A part of me really doesn't like slides. But I also know that people like to see things, words. So let me share my last minute, quite budget slides with you. Forgive them. My days of excellent PowerPoint they've passed. Okay, so here's our first suggestion that smack bang in the middle of patriarchy, coercion is used. Psychology is used to guilt people into buying. In a matriarchal way, there's no need for coercion because there is this understanding that we're all wise, whole humans. All our job is to do is to clearly state what our things are, who they are for, what need they meet, and who we are. We really only have a job here to communicate clearly. We don't have to bring in any coercion at all. In a patriarchal way, control is the primary mechanism. There is a tightly managed audience and a clear strategy to get those particular people to buy. And it's sort of like done in a way that is life or death. It's like this person needs to buy this, and I'm going to do everything in my power to make them buy. In the matriarchal way, the energy is a belief that all the right people are coming for your offering. Oh, when I say that, my whole body relaxes. It's like the oxygen to my selling is this absolute pure belief that all the right people are coming for my offering. And if I had in mind that 500 people would come and only 100 people come, it's okay. It's exactly the right people. And the lessons that I need to learn from that experience are here for me to dance with. And that has been my experience over and over again. Next up, selling is kind of compartmentalized. There might even be a whole department just for selling. And it's kind of seen as dirty work. Those of us who see ourselves as healers and artists don't really want to get our hands dirty with selling. Ooh, gross, yuck. In the matriarchal way, because it is non-dualistic, we don't lop off random bits and say, ugh, that is profane. No, we bring it in and we see everything as part of the whole. So our selling is part of the sacred whole. And we can do things like rituals before we go on Instagram. We can pray over our offerings and really let our inner wise woman understand that selling is a sacred part of the sacred whole. Okay, next up, in patriarchy, arbitrary dates plucked meaninglessly out of a calendar to launch. My husband and children are Maori, and over the last few years, we have been increasingly trying to live according to the maramataka, which is the moon or the lunar phases. Sometimes we're really good at that, and sometimes it's more like we're having a terrible day, and then we look at the maramataka and we're like, oh God, we fucked up. We should not have left the house today. Sometimes it's like that. But once you start doing that, you really notice how arbitrary colonized society is. So you'll go to something that's meant to have a really big, joyful, great energy, and it will be in a moon phase where, yeah, you're really not meant to do big, great, big, massive, joyful things. And you just really start to kind of notice how arbitrary our dates are. And you notice that when you do things according to the moon, so just like we tend to have all our parties on a full moon now, and we do notice that there is quite a tangible difference to how people gather when you do it according to something bigger than yourself. So in the matriarchal way, it's not arbitrary. There's a very strong dedication to doing it in a cyclical way. So either you do this according to your womb or something like a lunar cycle. I go into this as a whole module in Rewild Your Livelihood. But for now, let me give a couple of little examples. So you might begin tracking your menstrual cycle, and each day making note of how you feel, and in particular, how you feel about communicating about your work. And then you might notice that in your menstrual cycle, you have really clear moments that are perfectly designed for selling with power. So I love to write sales copy in the few days before I bleed in my menstrual autumn. And that is because I am at my most truth telling. That is when I'm like, nah, the world needs to hear this. I'm not going to sit on this any longer. It's also when my inner critic comes up. So I do have to be mindful and take care of her. But there's a real power that comes up just before I bleed. So you might notice that. I notice that when I'm ovulating, I feel like I'm ovulating right now. Can you feel my ovulating energy? So I tend to put workshops, podcasts, YouTube videos when I'm ovulating, because that's when I feel most kind of like myself, actually. I'm most able to talk with confidence and ease about my work. I also always make sure that the final days of my launch are not when I'm bleeding. Because if I'm bleeding, I get very, very restful and very, maybe too much in surrender. Like, I'm like, everything's completely fine. All the right people are coming. I don't need to do anything. I can just nap and not do anything. And that's a great energy to have all the way through your launch. But on the last days of your launch, you also need to be telling people about your thing. So I really try and look at my calendar and plan my final few days at a time when I've got a lot more energy for telling people. So that's just a very small example of how you can sell according to your cycle. Next up, the patriarchal way, and I think I see this a lot, is in having marketing experts and people mastering hooks and catchy copy without the real foundation of service. So it's like people are jumping to learn how to communicate transformation without having honed the skills of transformation first. And I believe that the matriarchal way is to be so committed to your craft or your skill or your product and making it so, so good. And that is your priority, is the serving of your community. And then learning what Instagram needs from you. But it's kind of coming at it in a different way. And when you feel that confidence around your skills, then you apply the catchy hooks and things really alchemize. And so there's a commitment to your honing your skill, but there's also a commitment to getting shit hot at the algorithm, because it's not, after all, dirty work. Okay, next up, we have the patriarchal way. I've heard this in so many business courses that I have done, that we have to carefully manage our content, parceling it out in little tiny pieces, perfectly designed to get people to buy the next thing with you. And it took me quite a while to figure out why I didn't like that so much, why it provoked something inside of me. And I think it's related to the control, but it's also it feels manipulative to me. And sometimes we have to just tune in to when a voice greater than ourselves says, do it this way. I feel in a way, Sell Like a Matriarch could have been much, it could have been a whole paid for course because there's a lot in here. But I just felt like I wanted to give this foundation to people and not parcel it out in a way that gets people onto a sort of sense of FOMO. That's what I'm getting at. So the matriarchal way is having a marketing plan. I'm big into marketing plans that reflect our methodology. But it's also then attuning to what the divine would have you serve your community. So I do work with a monthly plan that is based on my methodology, and I do it every month, and it makes me feel amazing about jumping on Instagram and serving my community. But even in a launch, I have so much space so that I can just kind of tune into my inner wisdom and then put something out that might be completely and utterly random. So it's that doing that matriarchal thing of using the cold, hard, tangible mechanisms, but having them based around our deepest intuition, commitment to service, and commitment to the divine that wants to come through us. A little meme here. Downloading all our best business ideas directly from the moon. I'm pretty sure in every single one of these memes, there's a spelling mistake. So I just want to be repping imperfection right now. Okay, the patriarchal way is selling under time pressure. This like constant sense of, gotta do this like feeling in our belly, this knotty feeling that we have to sell according to these intense deadlines. And the matriarchal way is trusting in our perfect pace. Next up, I mean, that's a huge one. So let's just move on. The patriarchal way, seeing yourself as a cog in a machine, as opposed to seeing yourself as the creative genius, the most important part to nourish. So when you are selling with this idea that you are just like a cog in a machine, you've got to do this stuff, you just have to turn up and make it happen and sell and do this thing, you don't treat yourself well. You come to the final days of your launch and you're just at your computer, you're agonizing about, what more you can do in this launch and agonizing about who is there, and you're refreshing your page to see who has registered. In the matriarchal way, you go surfing for 3 hours and then you have a campfire with your friends because you know that as the creative genius behind this, you need to feed yourself with so much joy, so much rest, and delicious, delicious pleasure. It's seeing joyful, beautiful things as the actual fuel to your entire business. So building a business that has embedded into it so much time for your joy, your rest, and your pleasure. In The Artist Way, I almost should have mentioned Julia Cameron actually, because The Artist Way is such an influential book in my life. I go through it almost yearly. And she calls these artist dates, and they are something you do not mess with. Every week, you take an hour just for yourself. And it's like taking the artist inside of you on a date. So you might go to a gallery or just do something that you love. And so it's really moving into this idea that you are the most important asset. So you have to give yourself all of the nourishment. Here we are. This is us. Witches napping because rest is a business practice. I'm definitely that one in the top right corner. Okay, patriarchal way. Linear progress from launch to launch, constantly expecting forward momentum. Who has felt the pressure of this idea that our businesses should be constantly moving from one goal to another, to another, to another, that momentum is the only way to build businesses? I see this all the time, even from women that I actually kind of love and admire. And you know what? This is not the matriarchal way. The matriarchal way is trusting in the natural rhythms of ebb and flow and holding our own when we are in an ebb. This bit is huge. Our businesses are nature, just like us, and nothing in nature progresses just constantly from one thing to another in forward momentum. Nothing does that. Everything in nature has an ebb and a flow, and our businesses will definitely do that. So we learn the ways of holding ourselves when we are in an ebb and trusting that this is perfect in its own way. We have two more to go. So this is a huge one. Oh my God. Could be a whole workshop here. The patriarchal way complies with the consumer standards of beauty, success, and womanhood. It requires us to hide our true selves, to package ourselves up into some kind of picture of the feminine that patriarchal society wants from us. It requires us to hide our rage and our grief. It requires us to be demure and mindful. And actually, the matriarchal way is to show up exactly as we are, almost fueled by our rage and our vision and our grief. In the matriarchal way, when it comes to selling, we know that the more we show up truly as ourselves, with all of our quirks, all of our kinks, all of our weird little opinions, the more we magnetize exactly the right sales. And I guess this is why I love working with women in their 30s, 40s, 50s, is because we've lived so much life and we have often come to a place where we are so ready for non-compliance. We are so ready to show up exactly as we are and be like, this is us. And that is the energy that is really required right now, in particular in 2024. If you're online, it's the gold dust. And it's why people are struggling, is because they're just trying to continue to comply with the old way. But if you are totally ready and already doing it, this idea of this is me, I will reveal myself to you and not hide my holy rage. This is the matriarchal way in action. I want to see more of it. If you are wholly raging on Instagram, will you please tag me? Because I'm just going to come over and big you up. This is me when someone tells me I have to be more palatable to sell well online. I think they're ice cubes. I don't know. I like it. I like her energy. And our last one here, the patriarchal way. Have you heard this? This idea that we just should price our things according to what the market can support. i.e., as much as possible. So that is one example, actually, but there's another example, which is the extreme opposite of this. And that is pricing according to what you think people can afford and pricing according to your lack of confidence. So there's two extremes here. Pricing, people just like, I've literally been on business courses where people have gone, you can immediately 10 times your price, Lucy, for the transformation you're offering. And I've just been like, what? And some part of me has been like, okay, I've got to make myself okay with charging 10 times this amount. And then a bigger part of me has been like, this doesn't feel right. And I refuse to do it. But then there's the extreme opposite. And I think a lot of people in this room have this, which is pricing according to the smallest amount because you don't have the confidence in selling your thing. So what is the alternative to these two extremes? It's pricing according to your audience, your own values, your impact, and your intuition. This is one of the ones that I actually want to really give you a tool for. So we're going to get into pricing. So we're going to wheel back around to pricing in a minute because it's quite a good example of this in action. And whilst I did want to give you the vision and the foundations of the energy of matriarchal selling, I also did want you to walk away with at least one tool. Okay, so my friends, I would like to pause here and invite you to grab your journals, or don't journal if you hate it, and just reflect. Contemplate these questions. Which one of these old patriarchal paradigms has been the most prominent in your life? What has influenced your lack of capacity to show up and sell? Take a good few minutes on this. Yep, if you're not a journaler and you're feeling like you want to share, I would absolutely love to read some of these in the comments. No oversharing in this crew, okay? Oversharing is often intuitive communication, intuitive connection. And the next question here is, I'm wondering about that, your own inner wisdom. Did your wise woman pipe up through this and reveal to you any other parts of selling that seem to embody the old patriarchal way to you? I'd love to hear from different people in the chat if other things strike you as feeling like the old way? There's a great question there. Yeah, Johannes, about the client avatar thing. I think this is a really good example of the paradigm shift, or the paradigm where I mentioned controlling tightly who you think should buy. And I think sometimes the client avatar, so building your ideal client and really knowing who they are, I think it can be really useful for us to hone in on who we're talking to. So I think it can provide a function for us to really visualize and get our imagination going on who we're speaking to. And I have been in a workshop where they literally had me write down what my client avatar was eating for breakfast. And I think it's so controlling, you're definitely in patriarchy territory. So I have an idea about who I'm speaking to. It is kind of sort of witchy-ish mamas. But every single course that I do, I have people who aren't mums at all. They're dog mums and they're proud of it, or they're mums in another capacity in their community. But there's just something in the kind of like nurturer that has called them into this. And you know what? They're so welcome. And there's also people who don't identify with the witch thing at all, but just more the spiritual thing. And they're all welcome. And so I try not to cut people off in my communication. So I think when there's a bit of an ick, there's something in there to tune into. Yeah. So we're going to get on to pricing. We'll talk a little bit more about pricing. There's a great question here from Tamara. And I hope that I answer it a little later on when we talk about pricing. And there's a great one, an interesting one here. Taking up any space and believing in myself. Feel patriarchal. Oh boy. If this was an ordinary session in my course, I would get you on here and we would do a little one-to-one hot seat, because I really, really want to talk to you about that, about where that comes from and how that feels like a very internalized experience of patriarchy. Um, it's so interesting because I just really want to bring in a whole other theme here. And it's this idea that every one of you sitting here is an expression of the divine. Every one of you is an expression of the divine. And the thing that has been put on your heart via your livelihood or your business is something that the divine wants to move through you. And the reason I would love to get you in a hot seat, but we're not going to do it because turns out I've only got half an hour left. What the hell? Ugh. Time. What is time? We might go over. We might go over by 10 minutes, but there will be a replay. You can leave if you have to leave. I would love to get you on the hot seat because you can hear that over and over again, but it's often through working in conversation that you can really understand what is preventing you from hearing that you are an expression of the divine and your livelihood is what she is wanting to bring through your body. Sometimes you can hear that and it lands, and sometimes you need to have that kind of convo and that kind of interchange. But let me just state so clearly that you taking up space is bringing more of the divine into the world. I mean that. And it's not just for you, but you taking up space gives permission for all the other expressions of the divine in your community and in your audience for them to come through more in their essence as well. So when we step out in our most shiniest, most truth-telling, most our selfie version of ourselves, we are not only bringing the divine through, but we are saying to all the others, let's make this planet as diverse and creative and weird and wonderful as it possibly can be by all embodying our divine essence. It's like not just for you, it's a community service to take up space. It really, really is. And maybe if there's let's get rid of the slides. Let's get rid of the whole workshop. Let's just focus on that. Just kidding. I'm not going to do that. But I just really would love you to hear that you are an expression of the divine and your business is a sacred thing that is wanting to come through you. And I invite you to just see if you can work with that in your body, in your heart over the coming weeks. Okay, another little question here. When you quieten your mind, so we'll take a couple of minutes to just still ourselves here. What is the alternative to what you have raised here in the chat? What does it sound like? So connect in here with that still small voice in your heart or your belly. And the thing that you've raised in the chat, the thing you've identified as being like a patriarchal paradigm present to you in selling, what would the matriarchal version of that be? See if you can breathe that out from your own inner wisdom. I'm going to put that question in the chat, seeing as I've taken the words down. And if you want to share those in the chat, if something comes to you. Mm.
Yeah. What's that?
So we have collaboration, synergy instead of competition. We have freedom, fun, release, flow, synergy. The sense of being absolutely enough in my current essence. Self-kindness and rest instead of linear growth and constant productivity in order to feel self-worth. So much trust in myself, the process, timing, people, my unique story, and that I'm supported by the whole hog. I don't need the pressure and toil of the cog. Oh my God, I feel like a spoken word poet right now reading these out loud. It sounds like being authentic and allowing your truest self to bring the connections. Fuck patriarchal societal expectations. Just do what you feel like without expecting anything. Working from a place of wellness and being nourished so I can use my strengths to help others grow, learn, connect. Oh my God. Let's write a book together. Shall we? Why not? I'm going to share the chat with you all after this because it's really beautiful. Sharing my gifts without expectation of return or fear of not earning a living. I am needed. Connection with self, divine guidance. Trusting the process, allowing the universe to take control. Collective and collaborative approach with radical love, grounding in my intuition, where I grant myself the same compassion I give to others. Trust. I knew when I was calling you guys in that I was calling in the matriarchs. You are already a matriarch. You are already here with all the right energy. You are already here and ready to reveal this great power and confidence deep within you. She's already right here, ready to come out. Okay, we're going to take the next 5 or 10 minutes to talk about pricing. If you have any questions that are coming up, we are going to have a Q&A after the next couple of bits. But if you could do it using the question button. Is there a question button on here? I thought there was. Actually, just hold your questions. Hold it for the Q&A, okay? And 1 second. Example of matriarchal. I locked my daughter, just came home from a sleepover, and I hadn't opened the door for her, and so she was just banging on the door. So I just had to let her in. It's good to let your children inside the house when they want to come in, you know. Top tip there, top parenting tip. You heard it here first. There is a whiteboard option. I've never used it. But yeah, just hold your questions. We're going to have a Q&A. Make a note of it. Okay, pricing. I share this because to me, this is a really good example of shifting from non-power to power. Because as we mentioned at the beginning, pricing is one of the tells that you aren't in your easy, flowful, matriarchal power. If you're constantly wavering on pricing, if you're constantly offering discounts, I see this all of the time. Women offering a Christmas discount, a birthday discount, all of the discounts to make their pricing more palatable. They're examples of you not standing in your power. Now, one of the things to running a regenerative business that keeps you out of burnout territory is avoiding decision fatigue. Decision fatigue is one of the biggest contributors to burnout. So when you are running your matriarchal regenerative business, you want to get rid of the constant toing and froing about decisions. It's exhausting and it's not good for us. So we want to figure out all of the different places in our business where we can eliminate decision making because it's wearying. Then we free up time for rest and pleasure. Now, in time, your business instincts are going to be honed to precision, and decision making isn't going to be hard. I was surfing yesterday. Did I mention that? I just like to talk about surfing a lot. But I went for a wave I got the wave. And as I was paddling back out to where the waves were ready for me, I noticed that I did something on that wave that I've never done before. I pulled myself back just before getting on the wave in order to put myself in exactly the right position for the wave. And I noticed it because I did it on instinct. That was not something that I could have learned. Now, I have learned a lot of my surfing from YouTube, and I had a surfing coach last year. I watch a lot of tutorials on Instagram, but there's only so much you can learn from taking on information. There comes a point in any learning journey where your bodily instincts kick in, and that is when you're ready to fly. But we need to get ourselves to that position. If you're in the first few years of your business, you actually don't have great business instincts. You haven't been in the sea long enough to trust your instincts. So we need to, like a nursery, raise you into good decision making and easeful decision making, where you're not toing and froing on every little decision. And you can trust, and I say this to hold the vision of a time in your life where your business instincts are going to be shit hot. That is in your future. It is. And business is going to be easy, flowful, and joyful. But you've probably got many more, even more years until you get there. So we have to nurture you into that place. And here I want to give you a tool that I have used up until now, and it's called the all-seeing eye. The all-seeing eye. It's short for intuition. It has two phases. It's got the first phase where you take in facts and all of the information. And then it has the second phase where you rest and allow your deepest wisdom to come forward on that thing. You can make all of your decisions this way, marketing plans, anything, but it's a process that frees you up from agony and going over and over, because we need to learn how to make good decisions. It's actually how businesses fail, is this decision-making problem. Talk about this in Rewild Your Livelihood. We go into it quite a lot. So it's matriarchal to me because it has clear cunning and non-self-defeatist or sabotaging confidence to work with the material. That's phase one. This all-seeing ability to work with the material. But then it also has, in phase two, space for our deepest, truest magic and our intuition. I see a lot of beautiful healers, artists, not doing the first bit because we want to go all on intuition. But to me, that feels like old wounds, maybe wounds of rebellion or a sort of self-sabotage that's like, I'm not going to do that. So I'll see someone complaining on Instagram that the algorithm has abandoned them and they're not being shown, their stuff is not being shown to anybody. And then I'll go into their grid and the last 10 videos are like horizontal videos that are 16 minutes long. That's not what Instagram works with. And so the matriarchal way is to learn the material requirements and then bring in the magic and do what we want. Okay? So, let's turn to pricing. You're going to ask the following questions of yourself and take a good bit of time to gather the facts about these. I'm going to share my screen again, just for these questions. We're not going to actually go through these questions now. You're going to get these slides so you can do this in your own time. But let me share these questions with you. So, what prices are being charged for this kind of thing? Say it's a 10-week course or a workshop. You're going to gather at least 6 to 10 diverse people offering this thing and see what they are charging. You're going to make an actual note of this in your laptop or your journal. Then you're going to ask, where does my experience fit with this? Have I been doing this work for years and years and years? Or am I brand new and I need a load more experience? When you're in the experience gathering phase, your prices are going to reflect that, rightfully so. That's not you and being terrible at self-worth. That's you being in apprentice mode and having your prices reflect that. That's great. It's good. Okay, so you're going to ask these questions and then you're going to play around with how different prices land in your body. And you're going to pick one that feels pretty good in your body. And then you're going to ask the questions, if my ideal minimum number of people joined at this price, how much would I get per hour once I've covered marketing, admin, and delivery? Does this feel like enough to make me excited? Because we do need a bit of excitement. A lot of us don't want to do all of the boring stuff about selling because the payoff isn't worth it. You don't want to go on Instagram and do a post because you only make $10 from it. But would you be excited about doing a post on Instagram if you knew it would make you $1,000? You'd probably be like, I'm pretty excited about that, actually. I'll leap out of bed for that. So you want to find a point of joy in there. Then you're going to ask, what is my financial goal for the year? Does this price and this amount of people I want feel like it's going to get me to my overall goal? Okay, so these are all of the facts. And you're going to put all of this in your journal. You're going to get the slide, so you don't have to make a note of these. But now here comes the intuition piece. And here you're going to take a few days or a whole month, a whole menstrual cycle if you want to. You're going to do a meditation where you're going to go in and you're going to ask your inner wise woman for the price they think you should charge. Or you're going to ask about the price you were thinking about and ask for a sign. So with my mastermind, which is my most expensive thing that I charge for, I was wondering about the price and I did this process. And then I spent a day being like, today is the day I'm going to settle on the price and that is going to be the price. But I would like a sign. I'm thinking about $333 US. That is the price in my mind per month. And I was like, I'd like a sign. And I was ruminating on the evening. And then I played cards with Juno, my 11-year-old. I think it was Uno. I can't remember. But then the last 3 cards I had left at the very end of the game, I turned them over and it was like 3, 3, 3. And I was like, okay, that is the price. And I took that to be true. You can also ask for a dream. You can also say it aloud to people, to your partner, just aloud in the mirror. And you begin writing it in your copy. And this phase is all about your deep psyche letting you know what price you can actually handle. Because if you've gone for a price and your deep psyche is like, no, there's absolutely no way you can get that, then no one is going to buy at that price and you're going to be constantly wavering on it. So this is about bringing all of the parts of yourself together and getting behind this price. So hopefully that gives you an example of what kind of matriarchal energy feels like when you're coming at your selling. I'm going to go through the chats later and see if I can answer questions. What do you suggest if prices are already published but they don't sit right? How do you change them? You do change them. Then you go back and do this work. You can absolutely do that. And you know what? That would be a really beautiful email to receive. Guys, I put this out at this price, and actually my inner wise woman tells me that it should be half of this. So it's now half price. Or if it's the next layer, if it's the other way around, an email like, guys, this was the price. This was old me. You can still get this price for 3 days, but on the 12th of October, it is going to be this price. because that is the price that actually represents the work. You know, you can do that. That's like the revealing yourself openly and truthfully and transparently. And honestly, we love that. We love that energy. And what if you offer something that hasn't been done ever before? Then you can still do this process, but looking at things that are maybe just adjacent to it. Um, and yeah, filling in the gaps as much as you possibly can. Okay, so I'm going to talk a little bit. These are such good questions. Why do you have so many good questions, everybody? Okay, this is such a good question from Fee here, and I think this speaks to a few of the other questions. Do you subscribe to the importance of having numbers that end in 9 or 99 or other pricing psychology stuff, or do you think it doesn't really matter? I think you can do whatever you want. It's called charm pricing, when instead of saying $200, you say $197. I actually do it. And here is why we are selling like a matriarch and not selling ethically. Selling ethically has a prescription of how you show up and sell. And it says things like, don't use charm pricing because it uses psychology to get people to buy. When I hear that, I'm like, I am speaking to wise, sovereign women. Do you think they don't know the difference between $197 and $200? They do. So my inner wisdom says that it's okay to use $197 instead of $200 because that's the energy that I am standing within, that trusts my intuition on the small things and getting caught up in like a set of rules about how we should sell is institutionalized thinking. It's patriarchal thinking and actually goes against our inner intuition. So some of you might be feeling as though you have to do pay as you go. Oh, not pay as you go. Pay what you want. Pay what you want. That is the most ethical way. Who here, give me a wave if you've toyed with pay what you want with your offerings. Yeah, I did too. And then there was an offering I wanted to do by Charles Eisenstein, and it was pay what you want. And guess what? I didn't end up doing it because it was such a labor for me to choose what I wanted to buy. And that was the moment I got rid of all pay what you want on my work because I was like, he is just passing on the emotional labor of his pricing to me. And I'm a woman and I'm already emotionally labored quite enough. Thank you very much. And I said, I thought I actually want to make it easy for people to buy and they can see the pricing and they can go, yes, that's for me. And yes, that's not for me. I do offer concessionary prices because I want to reflect in my work the fact that we do live in a hierarchy and that certain people are marginalized. But that is because my intuition tells me to do that. And I'm making a point of this because if we get caught up in the rules of selling, the rules of ethical selling and the prescription of it, we're like jamming our intuition. And I truly believe there are people out there who jolly well should be charging $10,000 for their thing. I do. I don't know why. That's what the divine wants to do in their bodies. And you know what? I used to be mad about it. You're pricing people out, for God's sake. And now I'm like, I'm trusting that that is what wants to come through them. And they are at will to do that Maybe they had a huge spiritual journey with a mushroom, and the mycelium told them to charge $10,000. Who are we to say the mushrooms are wrong? So what we're doing here is creating all of this space for our intuition, and then we're trusting our intuition. And that is our main work. So outside of business now, gang, we're here on earth to be in our divine essence and listen to our intuition. And that is why we're selling like a matriarch and not selling according to a set of prescriptive rules. Okay? So you can do what you want. Okay. I can't wait to get into the comments. They're absolutely mad. There's like so many of you on here. There's no way I can keep up with them. I don't know what I was thinking. One more thing before we go into a little ceremony. And this is grace. You are gonna get this wrong. You will. You will accidentally be manipulative. You will accidentally come in with the wrong energy. You will waver. You will go against your intuition. We have been born and raised in the murky waters of imperialist capitalism. It is around us constantly, and we've been swallowing it. We'll definitely get this wrong. So please don't come at this with any perfectionist energy, which is a very colonized patriarchal energy. Come at this whole thing with the experimental, gracious energy of the Divine Mother, where you can make a mistake and then learn from it and change it, and trial and error. Grace, grace, grace. Okay? Okay. Take a little breath. We're really moving into the final phase now. It's been a lot of info, a lot of ranting. Soz about that. I am naturally a ranter. I would like to invite you to tear out 2 pieces of paper from your journal. And grab your pen. And I want you to think about one thing that you want to embody in your selling from now on. What is the one thing from today's session that you're like, yeah? It might be something somebody wrote in the chat, might be something I shared. What is one thing, one matriarchal energy that you want to embody? Write it down.
I need something new for me.
Did you all get that? That was really important. I'm gonna invite you to see if you can't turn that into an affirmation. So see if you can just tweak it a little bit and turn it into something that might begin as I am, or I know, or I trust. I'm putting this in the chat so you can refer to it. So see if you can turn it into a belief that sounds like something you could say to affirm to yourself every day this truth. I am a divine being bringing forth essence. Or I trust All the right people are coming. Jenny says, I am the creative genius who needs to be nourished. Clements, I embody the ever-changing flow of my curiosity in my teaching. Beautiful. Lauren, I will take up space and succeed without guilt or apology. Other people's reactions are not my responsibility, and I'll honor my worth by standing confidently in my truth. I am grounded and trust in my intuition. I am authentic and know I am worth what I ask. Oh boy, these are beautiful. Okay, turn back to this piece of paper. If you really believed this affirmation, how would you act? How would you show up to sell? So really put some words. See in your mind's eye. How would you act, speak, talk about your offerings, show up on Instagram if you really believe this? Okay, and now with your other piece of paper, I want you to answer the question, what is the old paradigm belief or way of selling that I refuse to comply with anymore? How do I not want to act? So it might be directly related to your new affirmation. It might be the opposite one that has been influencing you. What is an old paradigm belief or way of selling that I refuse to comply with anymore? How do I not want to act? And write this on your piece of paper. Put some words around this and make sure you've got it written down. Okay. And I would like for you to take this piece of paper with the old paradigm and we're going to release this old way. So I'm going to burn this piece of paper on all of our behalf, but while I'm burning it, I would like for you to take your piece of paper and tear it up into small pieces. And while we burn this, I would like for you to say some words in your mind's eye around maybe thanking this old way. It's probably been protecting you or resourcing you. So we can say, thank you for being here, and I release you now. You no longer serve me. It is time for you to leave my mind and my heart. We no longer need this protection. We no longer need this limiting belief. We let it go. We imagine it like the smoke that came from this flame, leaving our bodies, leaving our minds, leaving our hearts, leaving ourselves, leaving this matriarchal line, never to be passed on, never to be embodied in our work again, never to influence how we show up online, never to impregnate our thoughts. It is gone. Like smoke, it has vaporized and disappeared, released into the universe to be turned into something else. You can carry on tearing your piece of paper for a moment, or you can pause and just feel in your body that this old paradigm is totally, completely, and utterly gone. Begin to feel that seed of excitement, that seed of liberation, that seed of freedom when a thought has left you, when the shackles have come undone. Allow that feeling to come into your body. Allow a sensation of gratitude that your mind is so plastic that you can create every thought by your mind alone. Allow that gratitude to make itself known throughout your body and hold on to it. This feeling of freedom, this feeling that your vision for your life is moving closer to you by the minute. And now take your original piece of paper and you might fold it up or hold it as is. And I want you to place this on a part of your body that just makes sense to you. It might be your heart. It might be your pussy or your womb or your strong legs or inside your powerful hands. It might be your third eye. And I want you to just breathe in the truth of this new affirmation. What you know, what you trust, what you do, how you act now. With each breath, imagine the words from this page coming into your body and affecting you at a cellular level. See yourself in your mind's eye clearly showing up in matriarchal power. and dedicate yourself to this belief. Understand deep in your bones that this belief is absolutely true. And let's together bless these beliefs, bless these affirmations. There are hundreds of us here doing this. This is an embodiment of the divine. We hold not only our own affirmation, but we hold all of the other women like a beautiful woven web of truth. And we celebrate and bless them all, that it will be so. Thank you so much, everybody. Coming back in to the room. If you need to leave, that's absolutely fine. But we do have some time for a few questions. Maybe 10 minutes. 10 minutes and I need to get my daughter to another place. My God. So if a question has come up for you, what I'm going to ask, because there's 4 pages of people, I'm going to ask you to raise your hand with the digital button. So if you go to the 3 dots in the right-hand corner of your thing, you can raise your hand. And we'll see how much time we've got to do these. But if you're wanting to ask a question but not speak, do it in the chat. And then I'm going to go through the chats and I'll see how many of these questions I can answer over the coming days, maybe on Instagram. So, is anybody feeling bold enough to talk? I mean, we're all friends now. We're basically a coven. Is everyone feeling just like mysterious and like going into a Q&A is just, it's not the vibe. Okay, okay, Lydia, you just go right ahead and unmute yourself, Lydia. That's fine. Okay, I've got Johanneke and Lydia. Okay, Lydia has typed. Okay, Johanneke, do you want to just unmute and then I'll answer Lydia's question?
Hello, everybody.
Hi, great to see you.
Yes, this is wonderful. Um, it is that question of how long, how long do you need to hold the vision? Because I feel in my bones, in my soul, in everything that I'm on the right path. This is what my soul wants. This is what I need to do. But I'm also, if you know anything about human design, a projector, and it all takes time and it's slow, and there's lots of elements which I'm not always sure if are my beliefs or are just the process. That it takes time. It takes time to become visible. It takes time for your message to reach many people. And and then there's that element of nourishing yourself. And are you procrastinating? Are you, I don't know, there's a lot of questions in there, but it's that momentum. To what degree do you help the momentum and push it along, or do you sit back, or I don't know. It's the whole thing, which, and how long do you hold the vision? I'm in my second year, but I was half into something else
Yeah.
still.
Okay,
I'm a
let me,
doctor, so
I think I can understand what you're asking, and I've got a good answer. Guys, it takes so much longer than you think, and it takes so much more than you think, but it doesn't take more than what you have. That's it in a nutshell. It takes a really long time, my friends. And that is what Instagram, business influencers, blah, 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 do not portray transparently enough. It takes a really long time. Statistically, it takes around 5 years to build something really sustainable and profitable. If you've made it to 2 years, the signs are very good because 90% of businesses don't make to 2. So if you're still hanging in at 2, the signs are great. Hang in there. Keep hanging in there. And also, you don't have to be a statistic. Things can change like that. So we have to run our businesses according to the truth that it takes much longer than you think. And you fucking hope. Fucking takes so fucking long. Fuck's sake. Right, it does take so long. But you have to run it with the energy that everything is going to change today. It's a paradox, and it's extremely matriarchal to run your business that way. And for me, I ran my business with struggle for 5 years. And then everything changed 1 year, bam. And then it changed the next year, bam. And I think often that does happen. It takes a long time to get going, and all of a sudden your instincts are hot. You find the bottleneck, you change it, your visibility tips over, but you just have to keep showing up. And that's why we need tenacity. And I believe that living in a matriarchal paradigm is so conducive to that tenacity because we learn to enjoy all of the pain. Thank you so much for that question. But I really want to be clear that it takes more than you think it does, but it doesn't take more than what you have. It doesn't take your body. It doesn't take your kids. It doesn't take your sense of peace. It doesn't take your well-being. But it takes more than what you think. Yeah. I do have things to help. So I have my Rewild Your Livelihood course. It starts in November. I'm going to be launching that in the next few weeks. That is so great for business staples, marketing, running your business according to the rhythms of nature. It's really helped hundreds of people get their businesses off the ground. I also have a mastermind for people who are already in the flow of business, but they're needing so much more rest and pleasure. And they're needing it. And they're needing to really embody this matriarchal thing. And that kicks off next week, a mastermind. It's an intimate group of people. But I also have a program called The Eon, which digs into this stuff so much. It's all about the matriarchal beliefs, and it actually rewires your brain for this stuff. And it's only 10 days because I have ADHD. And I want people to be able to access the quickest, most powerful way to change their brains. That's called the Eon. Yeah. Okay. Thanks, guys, in the comments. Are there any other voices? Maybe one more voice? Children of the future. Da, da, da. Let them lead the way. Why do I have Michael Jackson in my brain? I believe that children of the future. Let them lead the way. Aww. You know how I wish we could finish our time together as me like reading that epic spoken word that we created with all of our things at the beginning. That was so good. I believe children of the future. It's funny. Aww. Okay, everybody. I think that that's time. I am going to look at your questions in the comments. I'm going to send the comments to everyone. There was a really good one from Lydia about children at home, particularly maybe with unschooled kids. Please tell me how you manage to balance your time. I feel like this would be an amazing one for me to put on Instagram, and then you all share how you are managing your time. Because I feel like I do have stuff to say about this, but what I'm hearing from Lydia is the desire to bring in multiple experiences here. So maybe that will be today's Instagram post. I've absolutely adored being here with you. When I look at your faces, I think that was it. That's why Michael or Whitney was in my brain, was because I was like, we're the future. We're not children. But there's something about the future being here in this room when I look at all of you matriarchs. I believe that women being well-resourced is one of the most powerful ways our communities heal. And you are here and you are ready for it and you're doing it, you're living it. And so, all of the things you could take away, I hope that it is just you being deeply in touch with the matriarch already here. Okay, our candle lasted so well. It looks amazing. It's a work of art. Thank you to my friend Brandon who made it. And we can all blow it out together on three, okay? And just close our sacred time, but also knowing that we take the sacred energy of today throughout our evenings, our days, wherever we are in the world. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Beautiful. Go well and mad amounts of blessings on your businesses. Mwah. Take care. Goodbye.